Welcome officially to the ECA Southern California August 11th Summer Workshop. My name is Mark Benthien, Executive Director for Earthquake Country Alliance. And I will be speaking a bit later. Right now, I want to introduce our chairs, who are Margaret Vinci from Caltech Earthquake Programs, Heidi Rosofsky from Global Vision Consortium, and Alan Hanson from retired from Simpson Strong Tie, and a really great advocate, new chair for ECA SoCal with a lot of mitigation and earthquake engineering contacts and experience and outreach. And he'll be speaking today on some new resources along those lines. So Heidi and Alan, I see you are here, and maybe we're still waiting for Margaret, but let's go ahead and get started.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Heidi Rosofsky, one of the ECA Southern California chairs, and we have a great program with lots of great content for you. And I will kick you over to Alan to say hello.
Hey, gang. Well, just ignore that phone ringing in the background. You know how it is on these Zoom calls. So just wanted to mention a few things about Heidi. She's been involved in emergency management for more than 40 years, a member of the Earthquake Country Alliance Accessibility Committee, and obviously one of the three co-chairs of the ECA Southern California region. So I know Margaret is supposed to be on, but
she is having some connection issues, so we'll need to do a plan B.
Well, just briefly, myself, I am retired from Simpson Strong Tie. I was most recently the outreach coordinator where I handled the scholarship programs. I was also the liaison between the Structural Engineers Association, California Building Officials, American Institute of Architects, ACE Mentor Program, and most importantly, the ECA. So that's my background. I'm glad to be part of this, and really excited to be handling the mitigation moment that we'll have later on in the presentation. So why don't we go to Heidi for the ShakeOut drill accessibility.
Actually, we're not there yet, Alan. We need to, there's a few more slides. And if you don't mind, I can do these really quickly. If we have a different plan, unless Heidi, you're ready to?
Either you can do it or I can do it. Your choice.
Okay, go for it. There, it's right on the screen. Okay.
Earthquake Country Alliance is a public-private grassroots organization that has come together for earthquake preparedness and safety. We have statewide sector committees, local regional alliances. We organize outreach activities and meetings like today. We work very closely with California Office of Emergency Services, who facilitates our funding that comes from FEMA. We're housed at USC Southern California Earthquake Center, which administers ECA, and we have wonderful staff and wonderful people who are guiding this organization. Next. So as you see on the screen, there are lots of different coordinating committees that we have. And if you are interested in joining one of these committees, please get in contact with us at SoCal@earthquakecountry.org. We also have an open position, so anyone who's interested in doing ShakeOut and tsunami events, coordinating them, we'd love to talk to you. Next. So today's agenda, in a little bit, I'm going to be talking about ShakeOut drill accessibility, strategies for tips. Jason Ballmann, who is one of our staff people, is going to be talking about ECA resources and messaging. We're going to tell you about the mini awardees and the announcement of what's going on in the future with that. Quake breaks, ShakeOut 2021, the mitigation moment. Next. Oh, never mind. And what I was going to say is that, we welcome you and we definitely want you to participate. And we want to thank not only Mark, but Gabby Noriega, who is our staff support for SoCal, for helping to put this meeting together. Alan, back to you. Alan, are you with us?
Alan already read your introduction earlier,
Okay.
Heidi, so maybe just go ahead and get started with your presentation.
Okay, I'm an accessibility and inclusive emergency planning specialist. Today, we're going to be talking about adding accessibility to be able to include the whole community, including community members with access and functional needs, and I'll define that as we go. Go ahead, Mark. Next. Everybody can shake out, and we really want to be completely inclusive of the whole community. This is particularly true, if you're having a workplace drill or something like that. Don't just leave someone maybe who's in a wheelchair on a high floor or something from participating. The best way to do it in the drill is to work out the details and to practice. So we want to see everybody shaking out. Next. In terms of including the whole community, we're talking about, and when we talk about access and functional needs, anyone who may need assistance to receive or act upon emergency information. When it comes to the earthquake, it's Mother Nature starts shaking. We want to make sure that everybody knows the appropriate safety actions and that those things are practiced within the drills. But that community of access and functional needs talks about people who speak languages other than in English, are from differing cultures and ethnicity. And those are connections you need to make in advance and to be able to learn what is the best way to work within that culture. There are individuals with disabilities, seniors, transportation dependent. There's a wide berth of people who come under that access and functional needs category. Next slide. One of the first things when you're thinking of where am I going to shake out, if you don't already have like a business or something that you are planning on a location, make sure that your location is accessible, and that's functional accessibility. That includes parking, the ability to get in and out of event rooms, that there are not a lot of chairs blocking the way, so there's a pathway for people to be able to move, including wheelchairs and people who are using walkers and other assistive devices. That there are accessible restrooms, that it is easy access to public transportation. There are a lot of people who rely on public transportation in order to get around, including individuals with disabilities. Next. You need to ensure that you have resources that available for either an interpreter or caption when a request comes in for either an ASL interpreter or some way of captioning. And we really are looking at a way to provide information in the manner in which people normally get it. Provide nonverbal information such as large print and other language materials, and ECA has some that we have available, and we are actively working to include more language translations, and these are culturally appropriate language translations. And remember, when you're going through an interpreter, that you really need to make sure that you are not talking with the interpreter, but talking to the individual. The interpreter is like the telephone, a conduit for communication. Next slide. Inclusive shakeout drill considerations. Well, right now we have the virus, the COVID-19 virus is spiking up again. So make sure that those safety protocols are built into your drills. Ensure individuals in high-risk groups can participate safely when it comes to COVID, or even when it comes to, in general, planning how you are going to do your shakeout drill. If you're going to be using an online conference platform for remote participation, again, ensure that you have either closed captioning or an interpreter like we have today for deaf and hard of hearing participants. Ensure that shared files and materials are speech reader friendly for people who may be blind or have other reasons why they use a speech reader to essentially be their interpreter of how they get information. Ensure that you have appropriate materials that are translated for non-English speaking participants, particularly if that's an audience that you want to tap, and make sure that those translations are culturally appropriate. There's sometimes that the word may translate the same, but the nuance is different. And you want to make sure that you are working with community members to make sure that translation is appropriate. ShakeOut.org, our website, has presentations for leading online drills. So that's another resource for you if you're going remotely. Next. Did you bump one? Oh, nope. Oh, okay, so before the drill, one of the things that you want to do is ensure stakeholders from the group that you're working with, whether it's community or whether it's within your business or industry, ask, what do we need to best assist you? How is it that we can help you to be able to do the correct safety actions and know what you need to do? Determine what's the best way to communicate and to assist the participating community members, all community members. Next. Okay, we also have several earthquake safety videos online, including one that is geared for individuals with mobility disabilities. They're short videos that have what to do if you're indoors, how to deal with a table or desk, no table or desk. So these are the safety actions that you can take. The videos for the mobility disability were done with the help of an independent living center, and the individuals who were a part of that, it was done by people with disabilities for people with disabilities, or seniors, or anyone who might need that kind of assistance. So you can find those full videos at the links that are there at on the screen. Next. So we also have a Spanish language website at terremotos.org, and we have a lot of resources, whether it's something you want to download and hand out or things you want to put on social media. We have a lot of that on the terremotos.org, and it's a reflection basically of the same kinds of information that we do have on the regular shakeout.org website. So you can either get there through shakeout.org Espanol or the terremotos.org. Go ahead. Accessibility resources and appropriate safety actions are also available at the earthquakecountry.org step 5 or under the earthquake country /accessibility. And you can see this graphic that we have of the drop, cover, and hold on is one of the graphics that are available, and it shows an individual who doesn't use any kind of device, someone using a cane, a walker, or a wheelchair. There is a lot more information about preparedness and safety actions that are available at earthquakecountry.org accessibility. Next. One of the pieces that we have for preparedness and also talks about the safety actions is the Earthquake Preparedness Guide for people with disabilities and others with access and functional need. It adapts the messaging from 7 steps. It really talks about things that individuals who have some form of disability or a limitation that they would not be able to do something the same way someone else would. There's a lot of information that's directly appropriate for for individuals with differing disabilities that really gives them some ideas of things that they may need to think about to accommodate their health and or disability situation. Next. One of the messages that we really want to be able to promote, and this is something that should be a part of your drill as well, is that if you do have individuals with disabilities who might need assistance, we recommend the personal support team. It's at least 3 people who can come and check on someone immediately, that the individual who has the access and functional need has spoken with and has taught them how best to assist, knows how to operate any of the assistive devices that they use, know where their disaster supply kits are, assistive active daily living equipment that needs to go with. But if you're doing this in a drill setting, make sure that you practice that. That's what I'm talking about don't tell the person, oh, you don't need to do this, just because it may be something that's going to take more time or something that you're concerned will interfere with the drill. If you don't practice it, there's going to be less comfort with what needs to be done, and the team needs to practice together when you're identifying a personal support team. But also an individual with a disability can, with doing this, may be able to help people who are who haven't been a part of their personal support team normally, to be able to assist them as well. This is also important when we're talking about map your neighborhood or CERT teams in the neighborhood, to be able to know where individuals are that might need additional assistance, what kind of assistance that they will need, and work that before the drill and practice it at the drill. Go ahead. Take a look at after the drill. Did the plan work? What needs to change for the next time? Was there anything that was forgotten? Really do that after action drill down to be able to improve and capitalize on the lessons learned. Go ahead. So we'd like all of you, if you haven't already, to register at shakeout.org to be able to practice our shakeout and drill each October. You can see the websites that are there. There are lots of information for different kinds of situations there, whether it's business, whether it's a medical facility. There's all kinds of schools, all kinds of information you can find to make sure that you have the information that you need to be able to shake out, and that you can share that with the people that you will be shaking out with. I'm open for questions. Mark, I think is that.
Thank you very much, Heidi. Were a couple comments in the chat. Molly McLeod adds a comment to one of the earlier slides, responding to the quote, "Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being invited to dance." And she would add, "Equity is being on the party planning team."
Absolutely.
Really great.
One of the things that's really critical is to make sure that you have a planning team that includes the people that you're going to be working with, whether that's in your neighborhood or if you're an organization that has a particular target audience. You want to make sure that stakeholders are at the table. They're going to come up with solutions that you may not, in large part because they live with it every day and they know their workarounds, and they can bring a lot to the table to expand the workability of plans, safety information, and drills.
Another question from Daniel Twet. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. How do we organize to check up on neighbors who may have special needs?
This is the kind of thing that can be done through a Map the Neighborhood program. It can be done through talking to your neighbors. Put together some kind of flyer if you want to help organize your neighborhood to identify individuals that may need different assistance. Hold, some kind of an opportunity for people to talk about it and to be able to know that. And that's why we say when it comes for the personal support team issue, it needs to be people who can get to you immediately. So that's going to be people in the neighborhood. And the more you have an opportunity to come together and to be able to work this out in advance, the better the people involved and the whole neighborhood will be in being resilient after the earthquake occurs. And throw a block party or something, do something that you can get people together to be talking about this.
Thank you, Heidi. I have just put into the chat a link to our earthquakecountry.org/community webpage, which now has 2 webinars, recordings of webinars we've done, one in May and one in July, about local community engagement activities, such as the City of Los Angeles's Ready Your LA Neighborhood program based on Map Your Neighborhood, and a few community emergency response team programs from across the state, including for teens, and links to some other programs too. We are looking for other groups to highlight in upcoming webinars. So if you're interested and have a program of your own in your own community and would like to be highlighted, you can email us at SoCal@earthquakecountry.org. Our email address or info@ShakeOut, as you see on the screen, it all will get to us. But you can watch those videos to see examples of really the question about how do you work with your neighbors. Okay, so we are, there are some other comments in the chat as well, and we're time to move to the next presentation. Any final comment, Heidi?
Yeah, my one thing that we also want to make sure that if any of you are having ShakeOut events or other calendared events that are connected to earthquake preparedness, disaster preparedness, and our mission, drop them in the chat or email them to Earthquake Country. Is it SoCal? I always get this wrong. Mark,
SoCal@earthquakecountry.org.
Thank you. So that we can, put that out in an email blast or something. We really want to be able to highlight what the community is doing. And
Excellent.
I think I saw
Heidi,
Margaret.
thank you very much. And I'm just going to put up one slide here and to transition. Who's introducing, Jason?
I'm introducing, and I am here. So welcome. Hi, everybody. This is Margaret Vinci from Caltech, one of your co-chairs for Earthquake Country Alliance. And I'd like to introduce Jason Ballmann, who is with the Southern California Earthquake Center. And he's going to share strategies, walk you through the tips for using ECA resources, especially ones that you can use for your shakeout drills. Jason?
Thank you, Margaret. Good morning. My name is Jason, of course, and I've been with the Southern California Earthquake Center for about 10 years. I am really happy to share with you guys some simple tips and tools for sharing messaging across social media and also other platforms such as email. And what I'm going to do that is go over a list of several links where such messaging already exists that you can copy and paste and upload images and videos to, and then tweet or post on Facebook or Instagram or elsewhere. And if we have time, I'll end with an actual real life example where we will post to the ShakeOut Twitter account live. Now, all the links that I am using today, I just posted into the chat window, which is on your lower right. And we are going to start with sharing my screen. And we're going to look here on my web browser to get started with some of these resources. So Because ShakeOut is 2 months away, the International ShakeOut Day being October 21st, although anyone can hold a drill throughout the year on any day that works, we're going to go over shakeout.org/messaging. We have finessed this page over many years, and it has social media messaging. It has descriptions about ShakeOut for emails, blogs, maybe even news articles if you are in contact with a reporter. There are also images here. There are graphics, there are videos, there are all sorts of fantastic things you can use. Basically, you can shake out when and where you want, and you can share ShakeOut when, how, and why you want to at any time. So we're really happy about that. This page is for you. This page is for people who want to spread the word about ShakeOut. Now, for the essence of time, because I only have 3.5 minutes left, basically, I'm just going to highlight the social media messaging page. So if you're on this page, there's a list here of messaging, audio and video. That's where the videos are, and sound recording, still graphics, such as promotional graphics, animated GIFs, earthquake safety messaging, calendar list as well, and then media contact. But we're going to focus right here in this messaging section, which is up here in this area, right at the top of the page. Okay, and I'm going to click on ShakeOut General Social Media Messaging. Now we start with some of our partners who are crucial, and it's not everybody here, but it's kind of the top list. And you can follow those people as well. But for sharing content, I'm just going to show how these sections expand. So you can click on Facebook and you'll get some Facebook messaging. You can just take your cursor, highlight on over. You can copy it by either right-clicking and selecting copy like I just did, right-click, copy. Or you can use Command-C or Control-C on a PC, Command-C on a Mac. The other option is to get the images here, the supporting option is to also right-click on this image and save the image to wherever you would like. You can save image as, and it'll ask you where you want it to be. And you can also just drag it off to your desktop if you have that option on your device as well. If you're on an iPad or some other kind of tablet or mobile phone, you can just press and hold and save as well. So there's Facebook messaging here. These sections expand. There's Instagram messaging down here, the Twitter messaging. The messaging is designed to be parallel across all platforms to make it easy. We're not trying to put out different messages on each platform necessarily. They may be a little different to tailor them in terms of size or length, but we're not trying to spread different messages. That would be very dissonant. So other resources that are important would be the Secure Your Space campaign. And that link is secureyourspace.org, and you'll see that in the list that I chatted. I'm also going to go to that right now. I thought that I already had that one open, sorry. And if you go to this page, there's a great stat here. 2/3 of earthquake injuries are caused by the objects that are around us that fall or fly, cause us to trip, cause bruises, impalements even, broken limbs. So this space that we have for Secure Your Space, this webpage, secureyourspace.org, is to help make that messaging easier, to not just tell people the stats, but to give them tools they can use to actually prepare. So the promote button that I clicked here takes you to another kind of page that we just saw, which has a lot of graphics based on different objects. There's even a social media section where you can copy and paste this messaging. Just like I showed you, you can copy and paste the text, you can save the images. We also have animated GIFs here as well. This is all to motivate people to take some simple steps. It's moving heavy items from a top shelf to a bottom shelf today, and next weekend it's securing your furniture, your refrigerator, or another big appliance. Other key links, just real quick, in the time we have remaining, earthquakecountry.org/accessibility. I think that Heidi covered that pretty well. You've seen this. And then also we have earthquakecountry.org/recent quakes, where if there's a big earthquake, we will post some information here. So we didn't get to actually posting an example today to our Twitter account, but follow us at ShakeOut on Twitter, and let's keep spreading the message. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. I'll respond now. Thank you.
Hey, Jason, we have a question from Molly, who is asking if all social media messages have captions on videos and image descriptions or alt text.
That's a really great question. So accessibility is super important. It also takes a lot of time to make sure that everything about our websites or other digital assets have alt text, long description text, and captions. So we're slowly trying to roll that stuff in, and we can definitely try to prioritize the pre-written social media the prepared social media content to make sure it has that. That is definitely something we want to do. So no, it's not there now, but we will be slowly adding that in. Hopefully we can get a lot of it done ahead of ShakeOut this year. Thank you.
A number of our key videos, though, do have captions. The earthquake safety video series, our workshops and webinars. We are working to not only have English captions, but also Spanish captions. So, and I'll share some of the examples of our updating of materials to be fully accessible a little bit later on. I'm going to restart the main presentation. Thank you very much, Jason.
All right, thank you guys.
Are you, so,
Just a second.
okay. Okay, I would like to introduce Mark Benthien and acknowledge Gabby Noriega for a lot of the work that is done on the SoCal ECA Mini Awards. We're going to be hearing today from the 2020 Mini Awards recipients about their projects. ECA's Mini Awards have been designated to provide small grassroots community earthquake preparedness projects with support of certain kinds of materials. The awards are between $500 to $1,000, so we're not really looking at a lot of money. 2021 will be focused on mitigation. And I have some revised criteria, so we'll keep a lookout for that kind of information. There's an earlier application date, more time to complete the projects. No awards will be given this year for emergency kits, those kind of supplies. But keep a lookout for the information that'll be broadcast when all of that opens up. For Gabby Noriega, our ECA SoCal staff liaison, who we really does yeoman effort to shepherd these projects through from application to the presentations you're going to see today, will be introducing our 2020 awardees.
All right, thank you so much, Heidi. And yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce our mini award recipients. And who will share about their program. And we'll get started right away. First up will be from the City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks and is represented by Monica Gonzalez. Monica? You can unmute.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you. Go ahead. And whenever you're ready, you can just let us know to advance your slides.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Monica. I do work with the Department of Recreation and Parks. We are the Emergency Management Division. We mostly focus on mass care sheltering for the City of Los Angeles. We are the lead, so we work with a lot of Red Cross and other agencies to provide mass care shelters across the city. So we also, we are the recipient to the mini awards plan. We requested 1,000 Rockets earthquake safety booklets with the Department of Recreation and Parks. We do have 100 and I believe 108 summer day camps and about almost 6,000 children that are registered weekly for our summer day camps. So what we did was we chose some of the sites that were used for COVID shelters to kind of give back to those communities. So we took the 1,000 Rocket Rules, Rocket Earthquake Safety booklets, and we divided them up. We tried to make it out to as many sites as we could. Granted, we are also focused on emergencies and shelters, so we made it out to 4 actual sites where we were able to provide earthquake preparedness. We went over the booklet, we played games with the kids, we talked about earthquake preparedness, go bags, supplies needed, It was really nice because right now during COVID, the kids at the parks don't have a whole lot of things that they're allowed to do. So field trips are canceled, a lot of activities are canceled. So it was nice for them to have something a little different and to have guests come in and talk about something earthquake preparedness and just kind of break up the normal activities. So here's a picture of myself and my coworker, Arlene. We made it out, like I said, to 4 sites throughout the city, one in South LA, one in East LA, one in the Valley, and one kind of more in the metro area. So this specific site is Alpine Recreation Center. So the 4 presentations that we did, and then we also picked 15 sites throughout the city of LA, where we delivered the materials and kind of gave instructions for the park directors themselves and the staff to be able to provide the training and to work with the kids, the curriculum. So this, so here's a photo of the kids, and they were pretty, it was a really good experience for myself and for my, my coworker. We also provided a questionnaire. So here's the questionnaire. We did a pre-questionnaire. So just to kind of gauge their understanding, some of their knowledge of earthquakes. Most of the kids here will attend LA Unified, and LA Unified does provide a lot of safety and earthquake instruction also. So they did have some pretty good knowledge about earthquake safety. And then what we did was we did our presentation, we played games with the kids. And then after that, we gave them a separate, we gave them an after earthquake survey, and we found that there was definitely an increase. They did learn some new safety protocols, and a lot of the kids were really excited about going home and talking to their families about earthquake preparedness. And we did add a little bit of being prepared during COVID and some of the things that they would have to maybe adjust in case of an emergency with the sign of the times. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Monica. That is really, looks really fun.
Before
Okay,
we continue, Gabby, just one note. If anybody has questions about these Rocket Rules programs, I have just put a link into the chat. We also have the creator of these programs through the foundation that makes these, the Hero in You Foundation, Bunny Benarin, is with us. So you could chat her questions too about how to get the materials. Just, Bunny, as always, thank you for your partnership. All right, we'll go next.
That's right. Okay, yes. So
sorry, here's the results page we didn't see.
Here's the results, the survey results. Thank you. Thank you so much for providing these.
Oh no, I think we lost audio right at the end. Okay, Monica, sorry, we lost your audio, but I think we got the gist of the message. Let's see, up next is County of Inyo Office of Emergency Services, and Kelly Williams, I think, is giving their presentation. Kelly, you can unmute and get started. There you go.
Good morning. How is everyone today? It's been a very busy couple of years, really. So Inyo County applied for the Rocket Earthquake Safety Activity Book as well, thinking that it was a really great opportunity for us to get some not only instructional information out to the kids who were isolated at home during COVID, but it really provided a good teaching moment for some of the parents that would be interacting, or adults, actually, whoever is in the home, a teaching moment to interact with their children on earthquake safety. So Inyo County is a very large geographical county in California, the second largest, yet our population is pretty small. But our communities are spread very far apart. Bishop is in the northern portion of the county, and then it goes all the way to Death Valley area. So our communities are very spread apart, and providing educational workshops or live activities is difficult on a good day. And then with the issues of COVID, that always throws in an extra wrinkle. So what we decided to do was distribute the rocket activity books to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders of all of our school districts. We also received 1,000 copies, and we've distributed 750 of them to the schools. So we have a few remaining that we've also provided during a couple of activities that we did manage to be a part of after some of the restrictions started to be lifted. I think the next slide maybe shows a picture of one of the activities where we had some grade school kids that were handing out disaster preparedness information, and the rocket earthquake safety books were handed out as well. So we would like to follow up now that school will be back in session this year. Follow up with some questions and encouragement of the schools to participate in the Great Shakeout activity. Now that some of the registration information is available and the school staff are starting to prepare for the year, I plan on working with them to make sure they get registered and encourage the teachers to participate, and getting the administration to encourage them as well. But I do want to say, give a special shout out. We really appreciate, I know that you guys say these mini grants are small, but with our small communities and our limited resources, we really do appreciate being considered every year. It really does help. We did just have a big earthquake in July. It was not in our county, but we could feel it. It was up in the Mono County, in the Mono, Nevada, California, Nevada border. And it was, well, I've seen it at 5.9, at 6.1. And thank goodness it wasn't in a big populated area. It did cause quite a few boulders and a road closure for a few hours. But again, it's just a reality check that it can happen anytime, anywhere. And I will continue to encourage the educational piece. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. And we do appreciate also that you continue to support your community. So we do appreciate all you do as well. All right, so with that, we'll go to the next group, which is Health Center Partners. And Candy Alvarez will be representing. Go ahead, Candy. Oh, I don't think we can hear you. And you're not muted. Is it just me? Can anyone hear Candy?
I don't see Candy on right now. Are you?
Oh, I'm looking at her.
I'm just looking for her on the list to.
Let's see. I
see her
can.
there now.
You might need to connect your mic right next
Candy,
to the.
can we come back to you in a moment if you could figure that out? Let's do that.
All right. So we'll go with Sun City Palm Desert, and this is Linda.
Hello.
Linda,
Hello.
are you here? Yes, we can hear you, Linda.
Good morning. Yes. First of all, I want to thank, I know as was just mentioned that the mini awards, it's a small award, but we are so grateful and thankful to have received it, and surprised. It was fabulous. We're in Sun City Palm Desert. We have 5,000 homes within our community, and we are a 55+ community. So we have a lot of seniors or seniors. In our group, we have an EPC, Emergency Prepared Committee, and under our umbrella, we are search and rescue. We have about 35 to 50 members, and we drill twice a year. We meet twice a month, and we are very active within our community to assist if the need arises. Our block captains are our first responders, and from there, we would be called out for search and rescue to each of these homes. Let me see. Let's see. We were awarded many packs. The products were straps to strap cabinets. Yes. To strap pictures, cabinets, furniture. Right now she's demonstrating we got these tools to actually turn the gas off. Should we also need to turn the gas off at the time? For search and rescue, this award was specific for our group. This way we feel that we are very well prepared. Our furniture is strapped, our televisions are strapped. We feel really good that we can then go out and provide help for all those who haven't taken such care. So this was a fantastic way to feel prepared and be able to go out and help other people. So thank you again. Fantastic. Again, we really want to thank. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Thank you, everyone, for the consideration that you've given us, and we hope to do it again. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work as well. Okay, and so next we have Tierra Sana Disaster Communications Team, represented by Ed Langme. Are you here, Ed?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Very good. Thanks so much for coming today, and thanks for the ECA and all of their supporters for allowing us to have this mini award representing Tierra Sana community. It's in San Diego area. We're about 20 minutes from the zoo and from SeaWorld and from downtown San Diego. Our mission is to help our community prepare, respond, and recover from disasters in our community that has about 30,000 residents and 10,000 homes. Next. Whoops. Hi there. So our mini award was for earthquake hazard identification and mitigation, similar to our last presentation. And this allowed us to work with 55 residences in our community. First part was a hazard hunt to help individuals find out if they had tall furniture that could injure, furniture that could trap them, or objects and furniture that could throw or injure them during an earthquake, and to secure glass framed pictures and mirrors so they didn't cause problems after the earthquake. The earthquake hazard mitigation supplies were included to all those 55 individuals, and that included literature and furniture straps and quake hold and other things. The furniture examples are shown here of different types of furniture straps that we had available: straps and cables, hangers, the amazing picture hooks for earthquakes, and quake hold for securing valuables and breakables. Next. The question is, was this project worth the investment? Because we only covered 55 people. I'll let you decide. One 86-year-old resident of the top, I don't have a pointer, top right picture had a bookcase up there. Oh, good job. A bookcase right behind her office desk and computer area. And that would have fallen over had there been an earthquake. Bottom left picture, and on top of that bookcase, she had a sewing machine. Then in her bedroom, the next picture, she had a very heavy oak bookcase next to her bed that was not normally filled with my tools, but that's where her bed was. So that wasn't very good. And in her dining room, next picture, she had this next to her table where she studied and ate lunch and food and all her meals. Then on her second floor hallway, she had this bookcase in the hallway, unsecured with lots of books, and it would have trapped her up the stairs because her stairs were after she left her bedroom. And on the right side shows her stairs had 3 glass framed posters secured with nails or screws. We helped her mitigate these hazards on June 20th. This is just one example, but there are probably many more in our community to be found. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ed. That's really good. I think we're going to go back and
Hi.
Candy, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Yes, I apologize to everyone. Thank you. My name is Candy Alvarez. I am the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator for Health Center Partners of Southern California. We are down here in San Diego. So we are a consortium of 17 primary care health organizations, and we cover mostly Southern California for 3 counties, San Diego, Riverside, and Imperial. We do a lot of training, business and procedure developments for our emergency preparedness programs. And a lot of this is through grant funding. So we really appreciate the opportunity, and we were so excited when we won this mini award. So thank you very much. Next slide, please. So the goal of our project was to use the 1,000 activity books that ECA provided, and it was for improving earthquake awareness and preparedness among children aimed ages 3 to 9. And we named the project Prepare with Rocket. So we sent this out to 27 of our family medicine and pediatric sites, and those site managers requested about 20 to 30 books in 4 different languages. That was a big plus. They were very happy that we were able to offer the 4 languages, and I believe there's even more. So thank you, Bunny, for having those available. Very well received. And so we turned this into a giveaway for both the staff, the children of the staff, our organization, all the children, anybody who wanted to participate. And so for this giveaway, we asked these children just to turn in, I believe it was page 12 of the activity book, and to send us pictures, and also to get on a Zoom video with us, because Rocket's earthquake safety also has videos that you can see. It's only about 6 to 7 minutes, which was perfect, and it kept the children's attention. Next slide, please. This just shows us how we did it. This was the flyer that went out. And then we also built a small web page, and the children really loved seeing the children's ages, their names on here. And there were 4 winners. Next slide, please. Okay, and you can see this is how they participated. They turned in these pages, and then we sent them emails if they won. And then right here, there's 3 slides when the children went on. We just introduced how important this short video was, and they earned their spots because that was a big highlight in the Rocket activity books. And then you can see this was the giveaway. This is what we gave out. And I made these little contact cards and suggested items, mostly for the parents, so they can add more stuff into their emergency bag. And the last slide, please. And these are some of the pictures of the children that they were really happy to turn these in. You know, with the parents' permission, they turned in these pictures. And so you can see this is how they submitted it to me. And it was great. They were able to get on their mobile devices. I know by talking to some of the parents that the kids wanted to rewatch these videos. So thank you. This was a great project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, thanks to you for all that you do as well.
One
And
question for
if we go,
Candy, Gabby, just Candy, are you going to continue to distribute the remaining booklets?
Well, we would like to. Right now, we know that there's a big surge coming. So these next 2 months are going to be pretty busy for us. But right now, we know that people are coming back into the health center sites. So we're going to be able to probably push this back out again, even though I know it, you know, this would be just for us. But it was very well received.
Yeah, good.
It was, yeah, thank you.
Maybe without the program, but just giving them out as people are coming in. Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure they get out there.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
all right, Mark, if you go to Upland Cert, please.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay, so finally we have Upland Cert represented by Neil Gerard, but who is unfortunately out due to knee surgery. So he just wanted to share. Upland Cert was founded in 2011. They educate and support the community, including Upland Police and San Bernardino County Fire in cases of emergency. Next. Their original plan was to expand a CERT training module on home earthquake safety and provide the newest trainees with materials to make their home safe or safer. But due to changes, obviously COVID, they transitioned to what they call Plan B, which consisted of an in-person workshop for those already CERT trained, and about 20 of their uplanders, as they call them, gathered for the training and installing their materials. And so you can see some of the items that they used. And then we have some pictures of their workshop. You want to just go through them, Mark?
And this is when they then took those materials and installed them. One thing to see in a picture like this for everyone, when you get these materials, you actually, if you move the bookshelf out and you put the hole in the wall below the height of the bookshelf and then bolt the strap in, you really won't see the strap coming up. So you have to move it in order to do that, but then it will be hidden when you do it.
Yeah.
And this shows securing a TV. One thing that's also good is while they have screwed in these adhesive pads, because you wouldn't adhere to the unfinished wood, you could have put the adhesive pad right on the top and then just use the adhesive and not have to screw in. So these are some of the topics that we're covering in our Secure Your Space workshops. Be on the lookout for upcoming announcements of those workshops, and you can learn these kind of details to install these. You always have to kind of find some way of doing it because every situation is unique, and it's great that they found those options here. This kind of shows that what I'm talking about the straps going down more below. Okay, Gabby, that was the final presentation, right? So
That's
just to give an update quickly on the 2022 program, meaning you'll be applying this fall, but you'll be getting your materials in January 2022 if you're accepted, and then you'll be able to implement that program. I'll show the timeline further on. Just looking at the chat, making sure there weren't any. There are some a comment about simulators. So I'll need to look at that again later. Some videos. Thank you. Okay, so our budget for this year will allow again 11 awards of purchases from $500 to $1,000 each. And it just to note that as you've seen in these projects, we're looking for educational materials and projects, and those that are actually doing earthquake mitigation, actually making things safer, as we've seen by making sure that objects and furniture and everything won't fall or fly and cause damage, hit or injure people, or maybe block exits. We have a catalog each year. We'll be updating this with even more packages, but some examples of what we call the Secure Your Space materials in line with earthquakecountry.org/step1 for securing schools, community organizations, living spaces, with more items, and then a kit that has less items, but that you could bring to even more homes, just as like more of a little bit more of a starter kit. And then our educational materials, we can provide and print the Map Your Neighborhood shingle workbooks for $500. The Earthquake Adventure storybooks, the adventure activity books, which you've seen today, and also ShakeOut materials. So those are the types of options. The timeline, I literally just set this all up this morning. It might tweak a little bit, but We're looking to open applications earlier this year, actually in October. It was a few weeks later last year, so that all the notifications can be done and reviewed and made by December 7th. You'll then have time to accept those. And if you've made your own list of items, provide your invoices. That way we can get the orders going and you get everything by the end of January if all goes well. And the timeline is likely to be that everything ought to be done by May 31st. This year there was a time extensions. Can't guarantee that will happen next year. And then as you've seen today, if you receive a package next year, you would present about it on our summer workshop next year. Okay, so any questions there about the mini award program? More info is coming, so be thinking about a project you might do. And with that, I turn it back to Alan, I think, to introduce the next topic.
Yes, my pleasure to introduce Margaret Vinci. She's, I won't say an old friend, but she's a friend of mine. I don't want to get in trouble here, but she is the manager of the Office of Earthquake Programs at Caltech. She's also the manager of the Earthquake Research Affiliates, which is a partnership between seismologists, geophysicists, and earthquake engineers and leaders in business, government, and emergency response. So she's an outreach coordinator, similar to what I did in the old days. She's also a member of the committee that created the Great California ShakeOut, which is now the Great ShakeOut. She's on one of the SoCal regional coordinating chairs. And as a personal note, she did a presentation for our community. We had over 80 people attend. She did a fantastic job. So I would highly recommend, if you can convince her to come out to your hamlet or burg or town, to do so. We asked her to come back out to do a macro neighborhood presentation, so hopefully she'll do that for us. Margaret, there you go.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Alan. So this is our quake break to kind of talk about what's happened recently in Southern California for the last quarter, which was May, June, and July since our last workshop. And so California experiences earthquakes approximately every 3 minutes. Most of those are small earthquakes, you never feel them. But in any time, it can be the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, or the 8. Team Caltech is in partnership with the USGS that uses our seismic centers to monitor these quakes up and down the West Coast and to spot trends, archive data, and provide earthquake tools to make quick response. So in this quarter, we have had a total of 7,819 events. Out of those, the local events were 7,592 here in Southern California. Of those, 227 were actually non-seismic events, which we call quarry blasts. So those 3 events, those are non-seismic events. It could be a quarry blast, it could be a sonic boom, it could be anything that people are working in construction. Most of these occur during the daytime, but they're not seismic events, but our sensors pick up all ground motion. And so we had 227 of those. Out of these 7,592 events, 752 were above a magnitude 2. 91 were above a magnitude 3, and some of these were felt. We'll talk about that. 8 of those were above a magnitude 4, and we had 1 above a magnitude 5.0 earthquake. Next slide. And so of the felt events, so we actually had a little bit more felt events, especially from smaller events this quarter than normal. Some of those were because they were shallow, they were close to the surface, so they actually were felt. And we had one that was offshore, one of the big ones that was actually offshore. So by the time the waves reached the surface, or here where people were populated areas, of course, it had diminished in strength, but people still felt it, but no damage. So on June the 5th, we actually had that 5.3 event and in Calipatria, which is part of the Brawley Swarm. I'm going to include that in the next slide, which is going to talk about that Brawley Swarm, but that was a magnitude 5.3 event. This actually triggered some of these earthquake early warning apps because it met the threshold with that. No, can you go back to the other slide, Mark? And it actually triggers the Shake Alert apps in that area. We had several magnitude 3.5 events. Again, these are small. Normally you never feel these, but because they were close to the surface, you did. One event on May the 8th was a magnitude
I'm listening to a presentation right now. I'll come over afterwards and sign it.
Was a magnitude 3.6 event in Hermosa Beach. Again, that was offshore. It was a felt event, but no damage. It generated a 2,500 DYI, or did you feel it? Reports where people went in and actually said that they felt it in the El Segundo area. Another events in Yucca Valley and Ocotillo were small events, but felt events along the San Jacinto and Elsinore fault zones, and one in Holtville, close to the Imperial Fault. Rancho Cucamonga and Fontana and Redlands area also experienced events in June and July. These again were minor events, 3.5, 3.6, but they were felt because they were close to the surface. Next slide. And so much of our earthquake activity this quarter was actually elevated by an energetic swarm that we had along the Salton Sea. This is not unusual. We have swarms along this area. This swarm actually created many 3.5 and above 3.0, 4.0, and that one magnitude 5.3 event in Calipatria. That is a little unusual. Usually the swarms are much smaller than this, but it did have several magnitude 4s and that magnitude 5. This was likely created by the local geothermal activity that is down in this area. It's about 23 miles from El Centro. And so it is a very highly seismic active area, and it does have a volcanic history as well as the geothermal activity down there. Also, of course, we're still experiencing aftershocks from the Ridgecrest events in July of 2019. And to date, we've recorded 64,800 aftershocks have been recorded with that sequence. The largest being in current quarter was a magnitude 3.5. event. And of course, this is all still normal. Next slide. And with these swarms, what do they mean? We really don't know. In time, we may be able to look back and see what that might have been over the last 50 years, but right now we really don't know. They tend to start and then die out and not create any damage. So we also had large events across the nation, across the Pacific Northwest. On July the 18th, we had a magnitude 5.1 event in Petrolia. That's off the coast of Eureka up in Northern California. It's on the Cascadia Fault Zone where the plate boundary actually is out into the ocean. There was no damage because by the time the waves hit shore, they diminished in strength. So there was no damage, but it was felt as far as San Francisco. So the way that the waves will travel with an offshore event, and they will then hit San Diego. It actually triggered some of the Shake Alert apps in that area as well. The July 29th, Alaska, magnitude 8.2 earthquake. If we had that earthquake here, we would have some significant damage. This would be equivalent to what we've talked about, the San Andreas scenario, and we would have significant damage. But having been in Alaska, it is a completely different scenario up there. So this was strong shaking. It triggered tsunami warnings, but there was no tsunami, so those were canceled. It did have some large waves, but there was no injuries, there was no damage, because this is in a virtually very low populated area. One of the largest cities only has 100 people, no infrastructure. It actually occurred in the Aleutian Islands, which is offshore. And so it didn't create any damage. It was the largest earthquake that we've had in the last 50 years with that event. And so can you go back, Mark? Okay. And so the last event that we had there was in 1964, was a magnitude 9.2, and in 1938 was a magnitude 8.2 in a similar location. But this is not unusual again for this area that sits on the boundary where the Pacific plate come together with the North American plate. Next slide. And so this is all a reminder that we live in earthquake country. We need to be prepared at all times. So the information that ECA can provide you and the resources are very valuable for these reasons, because we live in earthquake country. Remember, with Shake Alert, we now have public alerting. So make sure you have downloaded one of the apps, whether it be My Shake, Quake Alert, and there's a new app coming out of San Diego that is going to attach to their SD emergency portal. that they already have. Also with our push alerts with WIA and the Google Android phones, if you have an Android, make sure your notifications are turned on to always on so that you will receive those earthquake early warnings. Also a reminder that we encourage everybody to use multiple modalities for receiving our Shake Alert messages, so that if one mechanism is not working or you're not near it, you're getting the alert from someplace else. And of course, to then encourage people to use automated operations to reduce damage, open up gates, close elevator doors so people can get outside. And so that is the push that we're doing for that right now. Next slide. And I think that's it. So any questions? Put them in chat. I'm happy to answer them. Or you
Margaret,
can
I put
contact
a
me,
link to
Caltech.
the chat. I'm sorry, I put a link to the state's earthquake early warning page, Earthquake Warning California, that you can find about the different options that Margaret's mentioned here. Also shakealert.org for the state regional. We do have a question that I wanted to answer with a graphic from Daniel Twit about, has the San Andreas ever had a full margin rupture of both the north and south segments, and that could that be triggered by a Juan de Fuca plate event, which would be an earthquake on the Cascadia subduction zone further north here. This graphic shows the history of earthquakes along the San Andreas. The 1906, of course, earthquake with San Francisco earthquake, the last in Southern California in 1857, and we believe around 1680, the last large earthquake on the southernmost segment. Various models have shown in history that it's possible that the whole southern segment has ruptured, like this northern section. There is a part in between known as the creeping segment where there are very few earthquakes, large earthquakes especially. Whether a earthquake could rupture through that and have one big earthquake, or perhaps remotely trigger an earthquake on either the southern or the northern, that's more likely. I think that people see that you could have a repeat of 1906 that because the shaking goes further to the south might trigger the southern to happen too. So you'd really have two earthquakes. Kind of the plot of the movie San Andreas, but they put those earthquake magnitudes far higher than possible. We're really looking at these kind of 7.8, 7.9, and they listed them, or they portray them as over 9.0. We know that's impossible. The fault simply isn't large enough. There's another question too. What is the largest earthquake we can have in California? Well, that actually just kind of answered that question. Maybe 8.2, 8.3, that would be the whole southern segment rupturing. But again, you could have multiple, and then the aftershocks would be very large as well. Margaret, Conrad Starr's asking, any advice for Android phones turning off location services for the MyShake app due to extended periods of non-use? Are you familiar with that?
Okay, so Android phones and MyShake use, of course, GPS location. And so anytime you change your location, it will then relocate where you are. Some of them do that a little bit faster than others. You need to actually go in and look at MyShake and how it does that, as well as Android, because they do have limitations and they do operate a little bit different. As far as turning it off, we haven't experienced that, but that's certainly a question I can ask. If you do have that problem, please let us know. Again, these are all pretty much in test mode to see how the cell phones are going to perform with sending alerts to 1 million people. And so all of the apps are still in test mode to see how the cell phones are actually going to respond. And I actually am putting a URL into the chat. And this is a great article that Alan sent me regarding the Mars shakes and how Caltech is monitoring shakes on Mars, or earthquakes on Mars. And we call them Mars quakes and not earthquakes. So I'm going to put that in as kind of an interesting article as well.
And Bruce Morgan, there is no cost to use these apps. You can download them for free from your app store. Okay, we'll move on. I'm just going to go for it because I have 2 minutes to do what was budgeted 20 minutes. Little kidding, but we're a little bit behind.
So I'm not introducing you. There's your 30
I'm just going to
seconds.
go for it here because we're quite behind. Just as if you join late, if you aren't a member of ECA, please go to earthquakecountry.org/join so you get notifications of our upcoming meetings, and even when meetings are recorded, like today, that you can get notification of that recording. By next week, the webpage for this meeting at earthquakecountry.org/SoCal will be updated with a link to the recording, the PowerPoint as a PDF, and links that have been mentioned during the call. We have a lot of resources, and ECA, of course, manages ShakeOut. I'll be talking about 2021 ShakeOut coming up. We have two main websites, both in English and Spanish, at earthquakecountry.org and terremotos.org. And we are updating a lot of our documents and materials this summer to be fully accessible in terms of all the features that are required for people to have screen readers be able to read a document out loud. And also we're translating them into 14 languages. So this is some of the new materials, some of the new look of our documents. So we'll have, for example, this postcard that we often have in English and Spanish. We'll now have that in, well, actually including English, 15 languages, as well as all of these documents. So we're really excited and happy. And our accessibility committee has been a big part of reviewing these and making sure that they are fully compliant and able to be accessible. Also, of course, our 7 steps to earthquake safety are key aspects of these materials and are available on both websites. Last year, we had a webinar series that are still available across each of the 7 steps at earthquakecountry.org/safer@home. And you can find a link to that on the homepage too. We also, just remind you, we do have downloadable booklets that you can get for regions across the state. And these are in multiple languages too, English and Spanish, and also Chinese. We do have committees you can join. This is a list of those. You can see them at earthquakecountry.org/committees. If you see yourself as part of one of these groups, we definitely encourage you to join. How to do that is on that webpage, earthquakecountry.org/committees. We have outreach bureaus too. I want to highlight that if you would like an Earthquake Country Alliance speaker, like Margaret, myself, or many others, there's a request form at earthquakecountry.org/events. I also had put a link into that already in the chat earlier for requesting speakers, virtual or as we can in person. And we do a lot of work in, of course, recruitment for ShakeOut through our participation bureau and media coordination as well. So if you're interested in these types of activities, being a speaker, helping to staff tables at outreach events when we can, or helping to promote ShakeOut participation or media interaction, let us know as well. I mentioned we've heard about the Rocket Rules materials. Just want to show that again, or at rocketrules.org. The safety book is now available in 9 languages, maybe more, and with additional materials on that site. ShakeOut, of course, coming up. In 2019, it was a world record year, and then something happened, and of course, COVID. And 2020, we actually had more than we anticipated still participate. We did put out materials and guidance for how to do so. And this year, ShakeOut is on October 21st, always on the 3rd Thursday of October. Key point, you can always have your drills on at other times because earthquakes don't always happen on a Thursday morning. So you want to practice what your family or organization or school might do if it's not at the same time each year. If you're with a school, what if it happened as students were arriving or leaving or being transported? Consider that. And it's really great to have your drill at other times, even than the kind of like the main time. A lot of people do their drill at 10:21 a.m. on 10/21 when that's the date. It really is your choice. And also, of course, you can have your ShakeOut wherever you are. And we had many people do online drills last year, and I'll show you some materials we have for that. So really, you can do your activity via video conferencing. We thought earlier this year, well, maybe we won't need to be talking about the COVID advice as much by the time of ShakeOut. That's not seeming to be the case. So if you do have in-person drills, of course, follow your local or state health guidance. Lots of ShakeOut materials, of course, that we have on the website, shakeout.org/resources, as well as on the California site. And we do have at shakeout.org/COVID-19 guidance for how to think about doing distributed drills where people are in different locations, or maybe everyone's online, or a hybrid. And we have PowerPoints for leading those types of activities through Zoom. And so we have these 4. We're going to make a couple more for other types of organizations, but really the organizational one is kind of very just generic. The school ones, in fact, the K through 4 features the rocket materials. So again, you can go to shakeout.org/COVID-19 to see that. And if Gabby, if you could put that link into the chat, or Jason, I would appreciate it. We're coming to the end of this though. How to connect with us, shakeout.org, of course, and earthquakecountry.org are websites. If you know, if maybe you speak English, but you know others that speak Spanish, make sure to let them know about the Terremotos website. And of course, we have our social media handles. With that, I will complete and see any questions around what I've been talking about. Looks like it was still more about earthquake early warning. And just there's one that Margaret, that was a fixed question.
I'm answering the one to Carol right now.
All right, great. So I'll turn over to Alan.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Can you go to the next slide, please? All right, so this is a new segment. We're calling it Mitigation Moment. That's my background primarily. So this is a brand new program through the California Earthquake Authority and the California Residential Mitigation Program, which obviously ties into Mitigation Moment. But there are 2 things that are really unique about this. One of them is it's a program for underserved communities, and it also covers more than just the $3,000 that was the upper limit for retrofitting an existing home. This is a pre-1980 structure, and you know, it's it does allow you to go beyond that. So again, they're trying to help underserved communities. There are some restrictions here. The applicant must own the home. Household income are $69,680 or less. I did hear through Janelle Maffei with the California Earthquake Authority that limit might go up a little bit. And initially, it's just going to be the zip codes here. Now, those will expand. Those are all LA area zip codes. But you can go to the earthquakebracebolt.com. The flyer is out now, but they haven't announced the program as far as I can see. So, you know, just check in on that from time to time, and you'll be able to get more information. So I thought this was a great program. They've retrofitted about 15,000 homes in the state now, and, you know, obviously looking to do more. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, and this is another new program. This one's through FEMA. BRIC, you know, they always have acronyms: Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities. And this, rather than being a small scale, you know, homeowner type program, is actually much larger in its scope. So again, you can go to this website, and I'm sure that Gabby or somebody else will put them into the chat. But this is a brand new program that allows for grants for existing structures. So other resources you can use: earthquakecountry.org/mitigation. And also my email address is on there. If you have any questions or anything, you know, feel free. I'd be happy to get you whatever information I have. And that's it for me. I'm gonna try to get us back on time, Mark.
Also, if anybody has suggestions for topics for future workshops for the mitigation moment, also you can email Alan Hanson.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that.
We will put the links to these here into the chat. there were a couple comments I wanted to add. Going back to ShakeOut really briefly, Jeff Primes from Ready America asks if we have the locations for our media event for SoCal that we typically have. We didn't have last year, but a very big day where we have from like 5 a.m. we have interviews in the Ready America Big Shaker. We have VIPs and we have examples for the media to do stories all morning long, leading up to a drill at that location. And we really hope to feature one of your ShakeOut drills this year. So if it is, as I put in the chat, if it is something that, if your drill might be something that the news media could come, please let us know by emailing socal@earthquakecountry.org, and we will be in touch to talk about that possibility. And that really is true for any events that you want to highlight. You could put events into the chat, but also email us any earthquake, tsunami, preparedness, general events. We are building a new calendar and we could feature your events. So ShakeOut day events or ShakeOut or even events that are around ShakeOut time periods. I know some of you may have your events on other days, but particularly that news event for ShakeOut morning, we're looking for places we can highlight real drills. And then there's a request for materials also. Just email socal@earthquakecountry.org with your requests. That's how we can get things out to you for some types of things that we can give you if you have booths or other events coming up.
Mark?
Yes.
Tabitha had a question here. Any programs for low-income apartment housing? Well, yes and no. And the yes is there is a soft story retrofit program where the garage is on the first floor. They'll go in and add steel columns and beams to reinforce those structures. You know, most famously, the Northridge Meadows apartment building that collapsed in the Northridge earthquake in 1994. But they're trying to prevent that. So, you know, again, in a roundabout way, there is a program. It's not something that, or I'm sorry, it's something that the owner of the building would have to pay for. And many cities, such as the city of LA, county of LA, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, have implemented that program. So stay tuned. We have another workshop on November 10th. We're hoping to have some information on that, but can't talk about it yet.
Thank you, Alan.
I also, this is Heidi Rosofsky, and I also put my contact information in the chat for anyone who has questions or needs additional information on access and functional needs, accessibility, stakeholder engagement for those kinds of outreach activities. My two email addresses are in the chat.
Thank you, Heidi. We are actually pretty well on time. So we now are going to transition to a discussion with some questions based on today's presentations. Who's leading this?
Actually, Alan is, but I'm going to take the first question, but once Alan is.
Okay. Yeah, so we're looking for, you know, questions, ideas, partnerships, ways of creating greater inclusivity. So, you know, we're just asking these various questions. You know, let's start out with the first one and see what plans you all have for the inclusivity aspect.
So you could, there's an open discussion. You can turn on your mic and start talking and answer that question, or you can also use the hand raise feature. Either way. So what have you heard today that inspires new ideas, partnerships, or ways of creating greater inclusivity in your community? Anyone?
Anyone have any questions regarding access and functional needs, inclusivity, or any of those kinds of things in reference to either a shakeout drill or preparedness or anything like that.
Hello, Mark and everybody. This is Ed Shackroff in Long Beach.
Go ahead,
Can you
Ed.
hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. About the inclusivity, I thought there were 2 points that leaped up. Number one is from, I believe, Molly, is that we need to enlist people with disabilities to help in these plans, and because they know what's going on. Number two goes back to way back when I gave a talk to a 300-member brain injury foundation here in Orange County. It's the largest one. And they have not only people with brain injuries, but also their caregivers and support groups. And it's very important. This was the version 1 of the people with disabilities ShakeOut talk, 7 steps talk. The number one point that came out of that, at least to me, was the support group, that each person with disability or special needs to recruit that, and nobody can do that for them. People can educate them about it, but it's the most important point, I believe.
Yeah, it's really critical. This is Heidi Rosofsky. It's really critical to help maintain independence, and even things like after an earthquake, if there, is anything that has fallen on the floor, that's very dangerous for people who have visual disabilities or trying to move in an earthquake. So the idea of the personal support team is something that the discussion can be initiated by someone without a disability, like in a map your neighborhood setting or a neighborhood watch kind of meeting discussing this. But the individual who is going to need assistance really needs to kind of be comfortable with putting together the team, the people that can reach them very easily, and they can really work with on what their needs are, how to work with their adaptive equipment, what they need to take with them, all of those kinds of things. It must be a partnership.
Okay, any other comments about inclusivity or questions?
I'd like to make a comment. This is Daniel Tweed in Thousand Oaks. Yeah, hi, great presentation today. I'm a CERT and a ham radio person, and I know that a lot of things like cell phones go offline just sometimes because of the immense user demand on them. And there's actually a very easy app to download for Androids. I think you can download it for iOS, but it's a way to have a mesh network of text chat. Uses the phone's Bluetooth and doesn't use the cell towers. So you can actually talk. If you get your neighbors to put this app in, it's called Bridgeify. I think there's other versions of it as well. And then one other great app is called What 3 Words? And it's a location app that actually names each 10-foot by 10-foot square of the earth with 3 random dictionary words. Well, they're not random, they're identified with their database and that square. But if you needed to direct people to a particular location, the What 3 Words, it's what letter 3 or what number 3 words, and Bridgeify, I think that could be a great resource for getting
Excellent.
Restored.
Daniel, can you put links to those in the chat? And when you do, try to include the HTTP part, because that makes it then clickable. We'll move to the next question here. How would you incorporate accessibility planning in your shakeout drill? So not just general, but what have you learned that you might do differently in terms of your shakeout drills this year? Anybody have comments on that? This is certainly something that's going to be demonstrated wherever our main event might be, or even if we do a virtual event, highlighting our new resources and making sure that as we have starting today, our commitment to have ASL interpretation on all our webinars and workshops and big events like that. So that might be something that you would consider depending on the type of event you have. But what other considerations might you think about? This could be your own, by the way, this could be your own home event. There may not be something to go to. It might be an event that you create just having your own home. Some people ask, where's the ShakeOut? We like to say it's where you're at. You drop, cover, hold on, you practice, and you bring those around you. And that could be your ShakeOut group or even by yourself. But what else might you do to add accessibility as you plan your drill?
Mark, do you want to mention ECA's participation in the Abilities Expo?
That is an event coming up after ShakeOut at the Los Angeles Convention Center, and we will be doing that. We're looking for people who might want to participate with talking to the attendees. We'll give 2 workshops a day on October 29th, 30th, and 31st. So, and our accessibility committee has already had a meeting yesterday to start planning that. But what about during your ShakeOut drill? Any other comments for what you might do? Well, I know you're all thinking about it, so let's just move on for the sake of time. And if you have ideas, you can put them into the chat as well. And you know, it's really going back to who you might include in the planning of your drill, as well as who might participate and how you make it accessible. Okay. Then we had a question about mini awards this year. Did the presentations give you any ideas for what you might propose this fall? Anybody looking to do something with rocket rules materials, for example, that you learned about today? You could raise your hand, you could turn your mic on and say, yes, me too, or however you like to say. Yes, Alan?
Hey, Mark, this is Alan Hanson. So yeah, I mean, I saw something that was really interesting, and that was the workshop where they were installing the straps and that kind of thing, finding studs and mock-up of a wall. Yeah. So, you know, I wrote that down. That sounds like something that might do 2 things. You know, one of them, obviously, it would get people interested in having their house sort of retrofitted, so to speak. And it would also increase awareness and teach people how to do that might otherwise not, you know, be comfortable doing that kind of thing in somebody else's home. You know, I happen to live in an over 55 community, and a lot of the people are much more than 55 years old. So a couple of years ago, we were awarded the earthquake straps and that kind of thing. And I actually helped some of the people to install those in their own homes. So, you know, just I thought that was pretty clever.
You know, this is Heidi Rosofsky. Following up on that too, one of the things that I've recommended is if you have someone who cannot do this kind of thing on their own, you know, like when your parents or your grandparents or somebody, you know, you're thinking about what to give them for a birthday present or anything like that. How about a gift certificate to a handyman who can, you know, who can help them do these kinds of things? It's an idea.
That's a great idea, Heidi. For everybody still with us, I just like to point into the chat. I just put a link to our survey. This is a very brief survey. We'd ask you to take it. You could start it right now even. And so just click on that link to take our survey. We greatly appreciate it. Any other, I was asking about the rocket rules materials. Did anybody look to perhaps do a project around rocket rules or just give a moment for anybody to respond to that question. You can even just put that in the chat like, yes, rocket rules. Or what you might do in your community or your organization for securing your space. So the way that we saw some of the materials. So Megan Stanton, I saw you raise your hand. Thank you. And Ravon McDaniel. Did you have anything you wanted to share? Or you're just saying, I guess this I'm going to do something rocket roll.
This is no, go ahead.
I was actually thinking you were going somewhere else with your statement, and I did have an idea, but it's related to the PowerPoints that you shared. So I can wait until that comes up later.
This is Ravon. I work at Ballard Rehabilitation Hospital. And so we deal with a lot of patients who may have mobility issues once they are discharged. So I was really inspired by, I think it was Sun Valley or Sunnymead, which focused on the team that they had helping others, making sure that they were well prepared so that they were in a position to help others. So I think our focus will be on making sure that our staff are following a plan, that they have a plan so that they're free and able to assist our patients and don't have to worry about what's going on at home. So I think we'll do a big focus on doing a lot of education prior to the actual drill.
You know, Raven, a lot of the information that we have on the earthquakecountry.org/accessibility has information you might want to download and even include as a part of information that when people are going home from the rehab setting for them to consider as a part of adapting their preparedness to whatever their situation is at the time. So there's a lot of great educational resources there that will be very beneficial for your community. And
well, I'm really excited about that. I did notice that, and I can't wait to take a closer look at that.
Mark, there was someone else who was going to speak. We lost Mark.
Sorry, I was myself on mute.
Yes.
I saw Glenn had his hand up. Is that on this topic?
Yeah, it is a little bit of self-promotion. As we're talking about helping one another, I encourage everyone to check out the step one, either pre-recorded videos that are available, or every few months we're doing another step one on tips and tricks on securing your space. I was so thrilled to see Palm Desert, Sun City in there. Known those folks for a long time, and I really set them. They have done an amazing job at working towards getting all homes in that entire neighborhood earthquake ready with regards to securing building contents. They may think they have a long way to go, but I can tell you from my perspective, being in this business, they're way ahead of a lot of other communities. So I encourage people to check out that step one video.
Okay, so Megan, what was your question?
I didn't have a question, but I was inspired by the PowerPoint presentations for the doing a drill during COVID that you provided. I was looking at those while I was online. And at PG&E, because of how large our company is, we struggle with finding a day that works for everyone because we're typically responding to so many different issues throughout our company. And especially during the months of September and October, with wildfires being a big issue, we kept pushing the date out a lot last year. It wasn't until November that we finally could do it. And I thought that with how large our company is and having these PowerPoints that could help the leaders lead their smaller groups through it, that maybe we could distribute that, and at maybe a director or manager level, each group could have their monthly meetings that they normally have. And during the month of October, we could spread it out so that each of those groups could then use those PowerPoint presentations. And then we could have them submit participation to us so we could kind of gauge how much participation we got throughout the company.
So that's right in line with this next question. And Megan, I want to let you know that, and everybody, if you download those presentations, they're really kind of a template or something we provided as a basis. If you want to put in your own slides and add in your own branding and make it yours, make it in your case, a PG&E slide set, with adding an additional, here's the PG&E emergency webpage, and feel free. They're all our materials are meant to be used and to be effective. So feel free to make those adaptations as well. It was really, we try to keep it as simple as possible, but you can make those adaptations. How about on this new question, based on lessons learned last year and our discussion today, how might you adapt your shakeout drill given ongoing COVID-19 variants and other issues? Anybody have other ideas for what you might do? Don't be shy. We would love to hear kind of what your plans are, kind of what you normally do and what you might. Is anybody planning to only do your drill in person, online, or a hybrid?
Mark, Alan here. We're going to do ours in person. We're actually planning the shakeout now for the Saturday after the 21st.
Excellent.
So, you know, that's, we're going to have 4 rotations of training through the Red Cross and CERT. And hopefully, I'll put in this plug one more time, hopefully have Margaret out to do a Map Your Neighborhood presentation.
Yes, Alan, I will be there.
And one more reminder in the chat about the survey for today, and also for emailing us any events that you have coming up that you'd like to add to our calendar that we're putting together and send out to others and highlight perhaps on social media. Email, of course, SoCal@earthquakecountry.org. I've also just put there as a reminder in the chat.
Yeah, and I think I will add, because somebody asked or the question sort of, that we are reaching out to our ShakeAlert partners that are building the mechanisms to deliver ShakeAlert as apps, but PA systems, sirens, the other mechanisms that deliver the message as well. So we're reaching out to those partners to see who would want to do a shakeout drill. USGS will not trigger the alert. The partners will do this in-house themselves through their own mechanisms to their customers or to their clients as they're using it. MyShake is looking into doing that. And so that might be something that could be utilized too, to use that alert to then start your drill.
Margaret, one thing to point out that what you're mentioning here, everybody may not understand too, is that while there is the phone delivery of the messaging and the various apps, there is another way that is being rolled out where companies can make additional types of notification, like a PA system, or other automated types of installations that.
Yeah, and thank you for asking, because this is probably one of the biggest benefit to ShakeAlert is going to be the machine-to-machine operations. This is not something we're just rolling out. We've actually been doing it since 2018 to encourage people to put in more reliable, redundant systems, such as sending it over your PA systems in a building, sending it over your voice-activated fire alarm boxes, putting it through your voice-activated phones. And so this is being done today in many facilities and buildings. Also being able to turn off water valves so that there aren't breakage in those valves. So that a lot of the water companies, especially up in Oregon and Washington, have been implementing ShakeAlert to turn off water valves to reduce damage. Our big propellers out that generate the electricity in Palm Springs are using ShakeAlert to shut down that system so that they don't break when they're shaking in an earthquake. So there are many other uses to ShakeAlert that will benefit and reduce damage in an earthquake. And again, having that redundant system, so if you don't have your phone and it's not with you, that you get it over a PA system.
Thank you, Margaret. So you can also, I put Margaret's information here. If you are interested in that type of system, you can reach out to her and she can let you know more about it. There was a point that someone couldn't access the survey. I'm not sure that is the correct link. When I click on it, it's because I had already completed it, so it says that, but let us know what the issue is. Click, I'll put the link again, try clicking directly on the link, not typing it. That way it will be correct. Is anybody else having that issue? Let me know. I want to, before too many people leave, I want to echo Daniel Tweet's comment about complimenting the organizer for providing American Sign Language accessibility. I want to actually compliment our interpreters for being with us today. Thank you very much. Thank you for both of you for keeping up with us. I know we have been speaking very quickly. And okay, and what other ideas? Any other ideas from today's presentations?
Hi, Jerry Long from Poway Cert. What we did last year was we did a drive-through safety fair. And we handed out information as people drove through the parking lot. Not something that
Excellent.
Other companies or other communities would be interested in, but we actually did that twice. We maintained social distance, everyone wore gloves and a mask, and we had little bags full of goodies for especially fire safety, since that's one of the main concerns for us here in San Diego County. So I just wanted to say something about that and kind of toot the Poway Cert and the Poway PNIC, which is the Poway Neighborhood Emergency Corps. They don't work with the fire department, they just work with the community, where we as CERT work with the fire department. But we got together and we put this program together, and we had a big turnout. We actually ran out of materials. So it was great. That might be something that other communities want to do too.
Thank you, Jerry. That's fantastic. And we are knowing others who are doing those drive-through. Hopefully we won't have to do that much longer, but maybe it's looking like that. So I also wanted to comment, Norma has asked, is Map Your Neighborhood online? If you do search for Map Your Neighborhood, you might find, depending on where you're located, your city's connection to Map Your Neighborhood. It actually is a program that came out of Washington State. So I'm looking for that main link where you can order the materials from. I just found it. I'm going to put it into the chat. But I know that different cities have adapted that program. So your own might have that. Here's the link to where you can download the materials in the chat right now. It's from the Washington the Emergency Management Division, Washington Military Department. You'll see that. And there is, are you asking for an online version of leading the program? And Margaret, do you know about that?
Okay, so I would just, yeah, and I responded to her. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to walk you through the program to teach you how to do the train the trainer for you with that. But you can go, and you could even go to YouTube and put in Map Your Neighborhood. Make sure that you have the authentic Map Your Neighborhood from the state of Washington. But they do have all of their 9 segments in there. But if you want to contact me, then I can help you to walk through and provide you with handouts and things like that you can utilize.
Norma, is that you can come on and speak if you like, but yeah, okay, you responded super good. Okay, any other final comments about today, about you'd like to share, or ideas? We can take those as we switch to the last part. If anybody has any other announcements they'd like to share about your activities, and now is the time you can unmute and you can share.
Mark, I did see that a lot of people were putting things at the very beginning of the presentations earlier this morning about different events. So I'm hoping that those will be captured and included in the information that's going to go out regarding the recording of this presentation and the information that
yes,
that
it will.
captured.
So nothing's going out. It'll go on the website, and look at earthquakecountry.org/SoCal next week. But again, the way to make sure that you know things are coming or are posted is to be on our email list and make sure most of you are. But if you kind of heard about today's event from someone else and didn't join ECA, I really encourage you to do that. I'll again put the link to how to do that in the chat. It's free, very simple, and we really encourage you to be a part of ECA. Any other comments?
I'd like to make a quick comment. I know we recently had the latest intergovernmental panel on climate change report released, and everyone knows it has very, very dire warnings. So I would just like to encourage the emergency responder community to consider that as another level of emergency response that we might address in our own ways. Thanks.
It certainly is, and there are even earthquake and tsunami related aspects of where climate change will exacerbate the losses when we then have such other events. So putting there, as ocean levels rise, then you have tsunamis, inundation zones might go further inland as one example, or if it's as temperatures continue to rise, and then you have an earthquake that cuts out the power and electricity, and it's very hot, you might have more people succumb to that heat. So all of these are concurrent situations. Thank you, Daniel. Any other comments?
Yeah, I noticed somebody in going back into the chat mentioned Shake Alert LA. I just want to remind people that Shake Alert LA app is no longer available. It was a test to show that it can be done and to show others that they can build these apps, but it has now been discontinued by the city. So it did not have the funding to maintain it for long periods of time, never did. It was just to show people it can be done. So if you're using Shake Alert LA, please delete it.
Yeah, it was the same signal as MyShake or other apps, but
yes,
you can still get the alert in LA. Just now get it from,
yeah, you can still get it, just not
Angeles.
through just not through that app.
Correct.
Mark, this is Lance Webster, co-chair of the ECA Events Committee. And I just wanted to let people know that from time to time in the months ahead, we will be having training for people who would be interested in being an ECA speaker on 7 Steps program. And if we have people who are experienced speakers and would like some specific training in how to do that PowerPoint presentation to groups online or in person, they could email me. I'll put my contact information in the chat box. We'll keep a list of people who are interested and notify them when there are trainings. That's it.
And then you can also the link again for requesting presentations at earthquakecountry.org/events is there, followed by Lance's email. Lance is a world-renowned Toastmaster trainer and presenter. And we're very fortunate to have him be a part of our group for leading such trainings. I have now put the final set of links, reminding you about the survey. It's 12:01, so we will wrap up. Chairs, Alan, Margaret, and Heidi, do you have any final comments?
No, our next meeting is on November the 10th at 10 a.m. and I will highlight that on my calendar. So make sure it's on your calendars for November the 10th, and we will be sending out the agenda prior to the meeting.
I thought it was a great meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks so much for attending, and I hope you got a lot out of it that you can move forward into Shake Alert more confident.
Rico from LA Fire, I believe, right? New with partner with us. Did you have a comment or question?
Brother, I just wanted to say thank you and say hello to everybody. I hope everyone realizes the magnitude, not to throw that pun in there, of the benefits of your meeting and the information. Please share it with your people. Use it because it is outstanding. The presentations, the presenters, and the information online. And I put in a ton of different links. If anyone else wants to be inundated with information from Los Angeles City Alert, LA Alert, and other that you can sign up for. And I'm sure those of you that have my contact information, please reach out to me as the new disaster preparedness officer. And Mark, hopefully we're setting up a meeting here pretty soon. I know Captain John Ignoxix, or promoted to battalion chief, has introduced us, but we haven't talked in person. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to
we
say
would like
hello
you
and
to
thank
become
you.
part of ECA SoCal and also maybe our statewide public sector committee. I
Yes.
think you'll have a lot to share and partner with everyone. Again, for everybody, lots of ways to participate. Please do. You make a difference by your involvement, or even if you're new, because you're learning any questions you ask help us make sure that we're providing the answers that other people might be seeking. So everybody adds to the overall effort. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.